Okay, let's dive into this. Welcome to today's Explainer, where we're stepping right into the middle of a botanical crime scene. You know the feeling, right? You're looking at your pond, and why would a seemingly healthy, thriving plant suddenly just start dying off? It's super frustrating. So today, we're unraveling this mystery together to figure out exactly that.
We're going to start with our source material today. It's a fantastic July 2026 entry from the blog Notes on Fishkeeping, written by a really observant author named Ang. So, Ang noticed this super frustrating trend. The common salvinia just kept wilting in some of their outdoor artificial ponds. But instead of just, tossing the plants and giving up, Ang actually paused and decided to dig a little deeper. To solve this whole thing, Ang starts with a really great foundational question. Do aquatic plants follow the same life cycle as land plants? Think about it. We are so used to categorizing land plants, our terrestrial plants, into annuals and perennials. But we kind of have to wonder, do those exact same biological rules apply when we move to the surface of a pond? It's a great question.
Now, before we go interrogating our suspects, let's formally define our victim here. Common salvinia or salvinia-minima, it's this aquatic plant that hobbyists love using to provide cover. But right now, it is suffering from this mysterious yellowing, browning, and wilting in artificial environments. All right, so we've got our victim, we have our crime scene. Let's take a look at the suspects.
So, suspect number 1, the natural lifespan.
According to Ang's research, common salvinia actually has a naturally brief lifespan. We're talking only a few weeks or maybe months. Now, that initially feels like an open and shut case, doesn't it? Like, oh, sudden yellowing could just be nature taking its course. Case closed. But wait, a good detective looks at the entire context of the crime scene to make sure the evidence actually aligns.
Which brings us to suspect number 2, intense, scorching heat.
Okay, here's where Ang's deductive reasoning absolutely shines. Notice that the wilting wasn't happening everywhere. If intense, scorching heat were the main culprit here, wouldn't we expect to see the salvinia wilting in literally all the outdoor ponds? But instead, it was only occurring in selected setups. And since the sun obviously doesn't just pick and choose which ponds to shine on, heat absolutely cannot be the primary trigger.
And that leads us to the final verdict: nutrient starvation.
And this brilliantly illustrates exactly how the biology of these artificial ponds actually works. Here is what's happening step by step. First, there just isn't enough fish waste. And because of that, number 2, there's a lack of a continuous nutrient stream in the water. So naturally, step 3, without those nutrients, the plants literally starve. They turn yellow or brown and then they wilt. It's like a giant puzzle, right? In an aquatic ecosystem, if you have a pond with too few fish, that whole biological engine just stalls out. The nutrients dry up and the salvinia ends up paying the price.
So, let's summarize the key diagnostic takeaways from this whole investigation. First off, always observe the visual symptoms carefully, like that yellow and brown wilting. Second, compare different environments. Noticing that the issue was isolated to selected ponds versus all of them? That was a massive turning point here. Third, you want to rule out those broad environmental factors, like the heat. And finally, evaluate the hidden biological waste cycle, like fish presence. Using this kind of structured approach is a real game changer because it forces us to look at the ecosystem as one complete whole unit.
I want to leave you with a final, kind of provocative thought today. Is your miniature ecosystem producing enough biological waste to fuel its own survival? I know, it sounds totally counterintuitive, especially when we spend so much time cleaning these setups. But in a closed environment, waste is literally fuel. The mystery of the wilting salvinia is such a great reminder that every single input and output matters. So the next time something goes wrong in your setup, don't just look at the plant, look at the whole system. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer, and hey, happy troubleshooting.